morning. Today is our last sessions for Buddha Dharma Pure and Simple, Volume 1. Today's two topics are empowerment and deliverance, and lastly, awakening, which are the ultimate goal of our cultivation. Empowerment refers to spiritual strength and experience. One is empowered when one feels a sense of spiritual invigoration. For example, a child who is bullied is empowered through his mother's support and encouragement. Most Buddhists chant sutras and prostrate to the Buddha in the hopes of receiving the empowerment of the Buddha and Bodhisattvas. In a temple, people are empowered when their fears are alleviated from prostrating to the Buddha and listening to the words of the wise. When one prostrates to the Buddha or Bodhisattvas and has faith in them, one is guided and empowered by them. The power of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas helps calm one's body and mind, strengthen one's faith and energy, and develop one's wisdom and ability to resolve difficulties. This is especially obvious during the COVID pandemic. Many people have been asking when the temple would reopen to the public. The serene look on the Buddha and the Bodhisattvas helps to calm their mind. Buddha never wants us to worship him. The statues does not speak, but it is a symbol of peace and tranquility. I remember many years ago when I was in Fo Guang Shan, Melbourne. Every morning, a yogi would come to our temple and would kneel before a Buddha statue inside our courtyard. She is not a Buddhist, but she told us that every day she would come over to receive the positive energy from the Buddha statues. But in fact, Buddhism is a self-empowering religion that many people gravitate towards because it doesn't necessitate that they worship any particular deity or engage in any other types of rituals other than the three trainings, that is, precepts, meditations, and wisdom. The Buddha and Bodhisattvas are neither the police nor prosecutors of the human world. They have transcended the mundane and do not involve themselves with reward or punishment, nor do they execute the law. In this world, unwholesome deeds are subject to legal sanctions and are not matters that the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas can interfere with. The Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are embodiment of the truth, and they will always accord with the truth rather than turn against it. Now we have a clearer picture that the Buddha or Bodhisattva are not there to determine our fate. Our destiny lies in our hand. Causes and conditions give rise to effects. Therefore, we have to constantly remind ourselves to do good deeds, speak good words, and think good thoughts. Our body, speech, and mind determine our future. Moreover, it is important to transform one's reliance from empowerment through others to self-empowerment. A child may rely on his or her mother for empowerment, but when they grow up, they need to be self-empowered. Faith, loving kindness, compassion, wisdom, patience, and cultivations are all ways of self-empowerment. In the sutras, all the teachings taught by the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas ultimately instruct practitioners to be self-reliant. The result of one's actions, whether wholesome or unwholesome, good or evil, must be shouldered by oneself. The Buddhas and Bodhisattvas serve for guidance and direction. Therefore, after listening to the teachings, one should believe, accept, and practice them. To rely solely on imploring rewards from the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas would be contrary to the law of cause and effect. Let's see what was mentioned in the sutra. In the 5 remembrance, Buddha described 5 facts regarding life, fragility, and our true inheritance. 1. I am subject to aging, have not gone beyond aging. 2. I am subject to illness, have not gone beyond illness. 3. I am subject to death, have not gone beyond death. 4. I will grow different, separate from all that is dear and appealing to me. 5. I am the owner of my actions, heir to my actions, born of my actions, and have any actions as my arbitrator. Whatever I do, for good or for evil, to that will I fall heir. The above once again describe the importance of understanding causes, conditions, and effects. We reap what we sow. Ultimately, we have to deliver ourselves. For example, when you fell into a rapid river, someone throws a float to you, and you have to hold on to it so that others can pull you up. The float is like the 3 trainings, precepts, meditations, and wisdom. We have to practice them to deliver ourselves. We now come to a very popular topic in Buddhism, awakening. What is awakening? Many think that awakening is a rather mysterious and difficult matter, but awakening can occur on many levels. For example, the acquirement of knowledge that leads to certain levels of understanding can be regarded as a type of awakening. In Buddhism, it is believed that small questions lead to small awakenings. Major questions lead to major awakenings, while no question leads to no awakening. Therefore, it is important to inquire and to question. Only with questions one can become wiser and inspired. Only from questions come solutions and realization. That is what awakening is all about. Prince Siddhartha asked, what is old age, sickness, and death? Then he further asked how to avoid such events in life. Of course, he didn't stop at asking. He went in search of the answer. He found the truth. He didn't create it. Sometimes we may ask questions and expect others to supply us with the answer. But this would not lead to awakening. Buddha asks us to try and verify the answer. In our first lesson, we mentioned about listening, contemplation, and practice. This is the way to awakening. No shortcut. Inventions and discoveries by scientists are all types of awakening. However, these are merely awakening to phenomena. that give rise to worldly knowledge and theory. They are unlike the great awakening of Chan Master, who were awakened to the answers of the questions: where does life begin? And where will one go after death? Once practitioner attain awakening, recollections of memories, no matter how far into the past, would come to them. Thus, to the awakened mind, time-wise, all matters from the past, present, or future are all within a moment of thought. Space-wise, all matters from the 10 directions, such as north, east, south, west, are all inside the practitioner's mind. In a single present moment, the entire multiverse is within the practitioner grasp. In the 10 paths to happiness, I mentioned about time and space. Beings from various realms have their similarities and uniqueness. For example, the heavenly beings and the ghosts can penetrate concrete walls and go to various places based on a single thought. So in terms of space-wise, they are not being restricted. But the ghost realm is a realm of suffering with no enjoyment, whereas the heavenly beings always enjoy peace and tranquility. Let's look at awakening through the famous poet Su Tongpo. He once composed 3 poems that describe the 3 phases of Chan and awakening. The first phase, before practicing Chan. Arranged from across but appeared from the side. Far, near, high, and low, each a view by sight. Why has one failed to see Mao Lu's real face? Or only because right inside Mao Lu he is? This refers to the state where a mountain is a mountain, water is water, which is deluded understanding by discriminating mind. Likewise, we see happiness as happiness and suffering as suffering. The second phase, before awakening after practicing Chan. Misty rains of Mao Lu and tides in Zhejiang. Unless really there, 1,000 resentments will linger. Having finally arrived, everything seems purposeless. Still the misty rains of Mao Lu, still the tides in Zhejiang. Before we go on, let's look at another thing. What is your travel bucket list? These are the new 7 wonders of nature. Maybe you have been to Table Mountain. Now you can cross it out. So do you have the feelings of unless really there, 1,000 resentments will linger? Having finally arrived, everything seems purposeless. Still the misty rains of Mao Lu, still the tides in Zhejiang. I remember when I started working, one day I spoke to my mother that I am now saving money and will bring you and daddy to overseas for tour. But my mother said, it doesn't matter. To me, these are just like the clouds passing by and then disappeared in front of my eyes. I didn't know what to say next and didn't understand her. It means as transient and ephemeral as a fleeting cloud. What is inside our basket list? We can use an ordinary mind to overcome our curiosity about certain things. We need not to possess them. Have or have not, good or bad. We do not get ourselves caught in these events. We begin to see happiness is impermanence. The same is true for suffering. We cherish happiness as it comes and face suffering as it appears. The second poems refer to the state where a mountain is no longer a mountain and water is no longer water. The mountain and water no longer look as they did now that one sees with wisdom. The third phase, after awakening. The babbly creeks are his broad, long tongue. The scenic mountains are none but his pure body. Nightfall brings 84,000 gathas. In the days ahead, how should such be presented to all? Sutongpo visited Maulu again. The first two poems describe about the scenery. However, for this trip, he felt that the creek, the mountain, and the nature were expounding Dharma to him. Where's the Dharma? They feel the entire atmosphere. You want to listen to the Buddha expounding the Dharma? They are surrounding us, but we never pay attention. A tree, a flower, even a mosquito is speaking the Dharma. But with a discriminating mind, we only accept the beautiful scene in a mountain and dislike the presence of mosquitoes. We will never obtain calmness in our mind, even if we went to a secluded place. There is no way to run away from all possible irritations if we see them as such. Therefore, Venerable Master Xing Yun promotes oneness and coexistence. To practice inclusiveness and equality, then we are able to see Dharma at every corner. Buddha said more than 84,000 verses of Dharma to us. Did we try to understand them and spread them? After eradicating attachment to greed and desire, one now sees that a mountain is still a mountain and water is still water. The mountains and water that one observes come from the spring of wisdom that flows from the mind. Therefore, one now views everything with an ordinary mind. We again see happiness as happiness, suffering as suffering. We no longer chase after happiness or try to avoid suffering. Rather, we live with them. They are all conditions arising. When they are here, we are happy to receive them. When they leave, we are not too sad about that. This too shall pass. Be it a monastic or lay practitioner, one need not seek the eradication of calamity or adversity. Instead, one should seek to become awakened. Likened to the state of drunkenness to escape reality is the state of ignorance. Akin to the great illuminations of the universe is the state of awakening. To Buddhists, awakening is hope, while ignorance is suffering. Having been ignorant life after life, one has to transcend rebirth. However, once awakened, be it life or death, one will face everything with clarity However, once awakened, be it life or death, one will face everything with clarity of mind. Huineng, the sixth Chan patriarch, may have been illiterate, yet he became enlightened. When Master Taishu went into a retreat aged 19, he had never been to school yet became awakened. In the same way, there are many Buddhists today who have become awakened. They just choose not to reveal it. Buddhist practitioners today need not regard awakening as an impossible task. If one's spiritual cultivation continues, virtues and attainment will arise. Consequently, awakening is thus possible. Is awakening that difficult? We can think about it as realizations of daily matters. Many years ago, I had a very bad cough. One day, the irritation on the throat was so terrible that I used all my force to cough. Then, at that moment, I realized that I was filled with so much hatred towards the irritation. I saw the hatred in myself. I saw my desire for comfort. I saw my ignorance for not knowing this. Well, you could say that this is a small awakening because I saw my desire, hatred, and ignorance in a cough. You don't need to keep your leg crossed in a meditation retreat to get such awakening. But you need daily meditations to train yourself to be mindful so that this mindfulness can be applied even when you are coughing. Keep the awakening benchmark a little bit lower and you'll be able to have awakening every day. Coming back to our Buddhist examination, the goal of humanistic Buddhism is, they are the four. Okay. To return to the original intents of the Buddha and dispense with the legends surrounding the Buddha's birth. There are too many legends. So I think the most important thing is the lesson. Yeah. Some people say that in the story of the Buddha, the biography of the Buddha, we know that Buddha saw the four sights and that leads to his decisions to leave his home and practice. But to me, I always thought, is it true that he never saw this, at least the first three sights? So we have to look beyond the legends. It doesn't matter really, is it the first time he saw that three sights or not? Rather, how does these three things, old age, sickness, and death, is a problem surrounding us, surrounding Prince Siddhartha at the time. And he felt the urgency to stop it. So we have to read beyond that. And why people wrote it in this way, I think sometimes things you make it more dramatic, people will get to understand it and, remember it. Henceforth, when we learn about Buddhism, we have to come back to the original intents of the Buddha. Some people ask, why is it we call humanistic Buddhism? Buddhism is Buddhism. Why humanistic? Venerable Master Hsuan said, yes, it's okay. You can always remove the word humanistic Buddhism. He added on this word humanistic Buddhism was because he want to make sure that there's an extra emphasis that Buddhism is for human being. Buddhism is for everyone. Buddhism is not only for the monks and nuns. So he want to make us see that humanistic Buddhism is not about hiding in seclusion in the mountain. Because in China, they went through a period, especially I think during the Ming Dynasty, whereby because of the government interference, that's why the Buddhist temple started to retreat to the mountain. They restrict the movement of the monastic. And in the end, in the Chinese in the Chinese community, even till now, a lot of people approach us when somebody pass away. It's unlike you. So they see us as someone who perform rituals. And after that, they just left. That's all. Why? Because of what happened from Ming Dynasty till even in the 20th century. And Master Xing Yun was born in the 20th century, and he wanted to change this kind of wrong understanding of Buddhism. That's why he called it humanistic Buddhism. It's a living Buddhism. It's not a Buddhism for the deaf. It's not the Buddhism for monks and nuns only. So he's not trying to create something new. He just wants to return to the original intent of the Buddha. Buddha walked to everywhere. Yes, he has his own quiet space of practice, but every day he walked around. He reached out to the people. But because of the things happening since Ming Dynasty, it doesn't look like what it was supposed to be. Okay, B, to remove all beliefs that are inappropriate, incorrect, deifies, and superstitious, they have separated Buddha from the human world. You know, they deify Buddhas. And then a lot of superstitions coming in. These are all those traditions and cultures are added on into the religion itself. So he wants to correct them. And then next one is to specify that to attain Buddhahood, one can only rely on the self, rely on the Dharma, rely on nothing else. Yeah, you can pray to the Buddha. You can ask for blessing, but where does blessing come from? Blessing comes from yourself. But for a beginner who just come in, you cannot tell them, no, the Buddha will not bless you. They will run away. Why should I come here? I must as well go to another religion, whereby they promise, if you believe in me. However, the purpose of is, let them start off with relying on the Buddha. But the ultimate aim is to rely on the self, rely on the Dharma, and rely on nothing else. It's just like kids. When they are young, they have to rely on the parents. And as they grow older, they rely on themselves. So for a person who beginning to learn about Buddhism, they may rely on the Buddha. But the ultimate goal is they have to rely on the self. Okay, so this is the goal of humanistic Buddhism. And the next one is, which of the following statement is false about the expression of Amitabha Buddha? A is Buddha's name, which means infinite light and infinite life. That's the meaning of the name of the Buddha. Another one, number C and D, it represents liberation from birth and death. What does it mean by liberation from birth and death? Because it's infinite. The life is infinite. So you need not to go through all this thing. And it can be said in all occasions, happy or sad. Okay, so wisdom will grow by reciting the expression diligently. No, you have to work hard, not only just by recitation. And next one is the chanting of Amitabha Buddha's remedies one's deviant thoughts with right thoughts, then progresses from right thought to no thought. When the mind is empty, the true attainment is gained. It's just like when we are doing the meditation practice, we focus on breathing. So initially you need that kind of focus point, you know, but when it goes to a certain state, you reach to a time whereby you can move from no thoughts, like I am observing my breathing, to you are observing without the thought of observing the breathing. The next one is Amitabha Buddha's means infinite light and infinite life. It represents the transcendence of time and space and liberation of birth and death. The next one, the Buddha differs from a deity in that he cannot grant wishes. He has no power to punish. He teaches that we are all responsible for our actions. Next, righteous Buddhist belief include the Buddha is a human being, not a god. The Buddha shares his learning, but he cannot grant wishes. Everyone is subject to the consequences of their own actions. Which of the following can we practice to achieve world peace? If all apply 6 points of relevant harmony. And then next we have, which one is not a reason for chanting sutra and prostrating to the Buddha to get a reward or protection from the Buddhas? And then Buddhists should chant sutra and prostrate to the Buddhas in hope of receiving empowerment of the Buddhas and Bodhisattva. The answer is false. It is impossible to transform one's reliance from empowerment through Buddha to self-empowerment. False. Cultivation in humanistic Buddhism focuses not on the mystical, but on cherishing cause and conditions, as all phenomenon arises through dependent origination. Indiscrimination, as we are all connected, there's no self versus other. Magnanimity, in our perspective, one is many and many is one. Which of the following is false about awakening? Let's look at the correct one. Buddhists, whether learned or illiterate, can achieve awakening. There are many levels of awakening. The final stage is the illumination of the universe. Awakening requires an inquisitive mind. And last one, awakening is determined by seniority. There's years of practicing meditation. This is wrong. Okay, that's the end. Let us now dedicate the goodness of what we have done to all living beings. May kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity pervade all worlds. May we cherish and build affinities to benefit all beings. May chant, pure land, and precepts inspire equality and patience. May our humilities and gratitudes give rise to great vows. Okay, thank you for everyone for joining the class. And we see you 3 weeks later. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye, Shifu.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.